My name is Burhan Husain and this is Redford Historical Moment. I'm here with Jim Bailey as part of a historical research group, and we are in search of the Indian trails that cross Redford Township. This is part one of the project, with other parts being presented as more details become available. Some trails are the origin of some of our roads. In the beginning, when roads were being made for transportation in the area, what changed things when transportation routes already existed? The trails. It was a matter of improving what already existed, so therefore the transportation of trails into roads. Shiwasi Roads is based on an Indian trail, so is Graham and Meadowbrook Roads. There also existed a trail that followed west side of the Rouge River, which was never turned into a road as such. Along this north-south section of trail that followed the main Rouge River, one can still see a marker tree. Trails would have been marked by the continued movement of man and animals in the same path. The soil becomes compacted and growth of vegetation becomes difficult, so the path remains visible except in the winter and possibly the fall because of fallen tree leaves. For those times of the year when the trail may not be visible, there would be need for trail markers along the trail. To identify trail routes, the Indians would mishap a tree limb so it would grow a limb at 90-degree angle, pointing in the direction of the trail. This particular tree does that. The tree approximately lines up with the east-west trail that would continue from Graham Road to intersect the trail on the west side of Rouge River, going north and south. South from the tree would have been the crossing of the upper Rouge River in the area of where it intersects with the main Rouge River. This north-south trail would continue follow the main Rouge south to Detroit River and other trails like the Great South Trail. The crossing site of the upper Rouge River is between the Rouge River and Telegraph Road. Any trail created would be comfortable to walk if at all possible. Also, if possible, the trail would stay away from uncomfortable settings like swamps, mosquitoes, and floodplains. The entry to floodplains where the actual river flowed would have been a gentle slope versus a steep slope. One such area exists near where the upper Rouge River flows into main Rouge River. If this is a crossing area for Indians, it is still used today. Not to cross the river, but to get down into the floodplain. It is well worn. There are only a couple of sites like this. A relatively gentle slope into floodplain along this quarter-mile stretch of river. This section of river was strained back at the beginning of the 1900s, so any sloping banks at the water's edge may not be visualized now. If these sloping banks at the water's edge originally existed, they would have been at a spot where there was a shallow stream bottom. Looking along the upper Rouge between the main Rouge and Telegraph Road indicates a couple crossing possibilities, assuming that anyone crossing the stream on foot would want to keep getting wet to a minimum. The shallow crossing would be one option where only feet or lower legs got wet. Another better option would be to walk a bridge created by a fallen tree or build up a debris in water from something like a log jam. In any event, these obstacles could remain in place for years and would be easy to make if man wanted to put the effort in creating such thing by cutting down a sizable tree or just taking advantage of what was naturally there. The section of trail that was made up Graham and Meadowbrook Roads left the township at Inkster and Meadowbrook Roads and headed west to Warford. This is not the community we know today in Oakland County, but this was a community west of Redford where 6 Mile crosses and the Middle Rouge in Northville, Michigan. Remnants of the site remain the name of the section of Middle Rouge River in Edward Hines Park. This has been a Redford historical moment.